Hi, and welcome to the MySpace podcast. I'm your host, Miley, and today I will be reviewing the book Killer Instinct by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is book number 2 of the Naturals novels, so let's get into it. I give this book a 5 out of 5. I really loved it. So, yeah. In the POV, it's basically the same as the first, but it's also different. And I'll get more into that in the spoilers section, because it's a plot spoiler. So yeah, now I want to get back to the reading real quick. I really love the book. I am not very, what's the word? I don't read a lot of detective mystery books, even though I really love them. So yeah. I just wanted to say that. Anyways, now to the plot. 1 second. The crimes in this book have a lot to do with Dean. So they're way more about Dean, and I think that every book is gonna have that, so like the first book was about Cassie, this book is about Dean, and I think the next one is gonna be about Sloane. So yeah, I think every book has something to do with one of the characters. So yeah. Back to the storyline and plot. Basically, this killer is somebody who is a copycat of Dean's father, who is a serial killer. So, yeah. He had a tough childhood. It gets really learn a lot, and because his father is a serial killer, a lot of people don't trust him, even though he didn't actually do anything. So when these bodies start coming up, he gets pulled into it. And then the others, mainly Cassie and Leah, try to help. And by helping, they do things they shouldn't. And they also pull on the others. So, they'll talk to witnesses and go to locations and stuff. Those things are not supposed to do. And then Dean basically does the same thing and does a stupid thing. But Cassie stops him and then makes him take her. Well, first off, she kind of makes him take Michael. And then, they just don't really get along, so Cassie has to go with them. And then Leah and Sloane are the distraction. And at one point, before this actually happens, Dean talks to his father. Didn't go amazing. Cassie also saw that conversation. She was there. And then after he does the stupid thing, in a little while closer to the end of the book, Cassie goes to talk with his father because he wants to talk with the girl in Dean's life. Yeah. But they've also realized that this killer isn't really actually a copycat, it's more of an apprentice. So yeah. They're like, oh, well, he wouldn't be the type of person to have a copycat and all these details. Well, the killer wouldn't know everything, right? So, copycat. It's not a copycat, it's an apprentice. And then, very end of the book, Cassie and Agent Sterling realize something. And then they're kind of kidnapped. And then almost killed. Great, right? Why does this always happen to Cassie? I don't know. And then at the end of the book, Cassie makes her choice. And then at the very, very end of the book, the the director of national intelligence, which is basically the director of like FBI, CIA, and all those other places, you know? Just like that head director, very, very top. And he's like, you'll be able to work on active cases, but you gotta be in the background. So they were able to work on background cases. Well, now they are. But there are going to be new rules and regulations and stuff, you know, blah, 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 blah. All those things that you need. Now, on to the characters. Number 1 is Cassie. So, there's not a lot about her. But, we have learned a little bit. Before she was brought into this program, her closest friendships were the people that she basically kind of got into their head. Those people that she got in, you know, whatever I'm trying to say. So the closest friendships she had were when she got into other people's heads and understood them in that way. Even though those people never knew her, never aware of her existence. So she never really had actually close friends until she came to the program. So it's really nice that she has actual friends now. And with Dean and Michael, the reason why she can't make up her mind is she doesn't want to hurt or lose either of them. But by the end of the book, yeah, she kind of does. Yeah, it's great. Dean. So a lot of these things are what Cassie realizes. So she's like, he doesn't actually need to be alone. He just feels that's what he deserves because he's done some things in his past and his father and stuff. And he's like, I deserve to be alone. I need to be alone. Blah, 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 blah. But Cassie's like, I don't really care. So she goes and, you know, she talks to him. And that makes somebody else angry. Could tell later. And then he needs someone to like tether him to reality for the first time they go to see his father. And guess who that is? It's Cassie. And also, Cassie was like the only one there, so yeah. And also, for most of the book, he didn't know how to feel about Cassie. He was trying to like push that away. He didn't want to think about it or anything. But by the end, he knew. Now on to Michael. See, there's not a lot about them. There's not a lot about these characters, which I'm just sad about. So his father has an explosive temper. So, you know, abusive. Which I kind of ended up guessing, you know, in the other video. Yeah, he's trying super hard to, like, be good and be patient, waiting for Cassie to choose him. And I'm just like, that's hard for him, because that's not really who he is, but he really likes her that he's doing that. And he wants Cassie. He's very open about it. He's like, I'm here. Come be with me. Dean's not going to open up. I feel so bad for him. Leah. She's the one that wasn't really happy that Dean and Cassie were getting closer. Okay, so in the last book, in the first one, she was saying, like, she was in love with Dean and stuff. But I guess in this book, it's kind of said that it's not in a romantic way, so I'm kind of confused on that. I thought she was in love with him. Guess not. I don't know. I feel like I need to go, like, reread that part in the first book to see. Because she's also constantly trying to get a rise out of Dean, like, trying to get him angry, which also is very confusing for me, because I'm like, what? Confusing. I don't know what's happening. And I guess, she acts really mean to Cassie, and the reason why is because she hates that Dean is starting to lean on Cassie more instead of her, because Leah and Dean have been together for years. It was like the two of them in the beginning of this program. So they kind of they're closer and they tell each other their secrets, basically. And she doesn't like how Dean is telling Cassie his secrets. And there's also a good chance that Leah was also abused in her past too. On to Sloane. Someone in her life has made her feel like everything she did was wrong, which is really sad. And like, I think also whoever it was also kind of made her feel bad for being smart and stuff, kind of. I think it's more like everything she did was wrong, but that usually like goes into her also being insanely smart, super smart. So it's really sad to see that. But I love her statistics. She just randomly comes out and says a statistic. That's a really weird word sometimes. But she'll come out and say one, and it'll be like the funniest thing ever, because it's like comedic relief. I love it. But I need more about her. I need to know more about her. Need to. On to another character, Agent Sterling. This is the new character. She basically, in a way, replaced Lacey Locke. Yeah. But really, it was more Locke may have replaced Locke may have replaced Sterling. I don't know. It's really crazy and weird. But she's all about the rules. She's like, really, you gotta listen to these rules. She used to not be all about it, but stuff happened. Like, somebody died, and stuff happened to her, so she's now like, we gotta follow the rules. She doesn't allow herself to have any weaknesses, and it's a defense mechanism for other stuff that have happened too. She used to be partners with Agent Briggs in more than one way. But stuff happened. And she really cares for Dean, and she wants him to have a normal childhood, but he'll never have a normal childhood. He'll never have one. It's just who he is. By the way he grew up and stuff, he's never gonna have a normal childhood. It's gonna be just... And she realizes that by the end of the book. And she sees herself in Cassie. That's why she's harder on Cassie, because she can see that her and Cassie are really alike. And how she explains it is that one time she didn't follow protocol and somebody got hurt, like what happened at the end of the first book with Cassie and the boys. I want to know more about that. Like, I feel like it's going to come up at some point, and we're going to learn more about what happened, like what that was. Well, it really wasn't somebody got hurt, somebody got killed. But yeah. And Cassie also feels emotions. Like, she won't ever be able to stop caring for the victims or their families. Like, Michael and Leah, they can shut off their emotions. And Dean, well, it's kind of hard for him to feel. And then Sloane's too much into numbers, and it's always going to be numbers over people. So it will all be personal to Cassie. It will always be personal to her. And I think the reason why she's so hard on Cassie is that she's just scared that she's scared for Cassie and doesn't want her to get hurt. So yeah, and she's also the one who basically gets Cassie not to go out and do stuff, because she puts an ankle monitor on her ankle. It's literally in the name. Also, her father is the director of the FBI. Yeah. Spoilers now. Start off small. Number 1. Agent Sterling and Agent Briggs used to be married. That was like... It's like, oh, okay. Cool, dude. Because Cassie first thought that they were just like partners. Nope, they're married. They were married. Now they're not, because of what happened. Now, getting a little more. Sterling was kidnapped by Dean's dad, and she's basically the one who got away. So, Sterling was kidnapped by Dean's dad, and is basically the one who got away. Blah, 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 blah. And that is basically what hurt Agent Sterling in multiple different ways. That's why her and Briggs were divorced, and she left the FBI. Now, we're getting on to the bigger stuff that will actually ruin the plot. This first one isn't too bad, and I've kind of already said it. Cassie chose Dean. The reason why I'm not like super happy about it is because I'm more of a Michael fan, but I can deal with it. I'll deal with it. And I feel so bad for Michael. I feel so bad. Like, you can see how it hurt him. Like, she was the first girl he ever waited for, and that's a lot coming from Michael. And you can see how just because he was like destroying a car. So I can't. I'm okay. I'll be okay. Plot. So stuff with the plot. This is basically the killer stuff. This is major plot. Spoiler. Major. Okay, you still want to hear it? Okay. There's more than one killer. More than one. It's just... when I first read it, did not see that coming. Didn't. But reading it again, I saw it coming. See it coming when you read it again. You see all those little things you missed. And what's funny is that they found out who at least one of those killers was. But then evidence would come up being like, oh no, it's not them. It's them. Yeah. But everything came together in the end. Everything came together. I was like, boom. And we're like, oh my god. But by then, they were kidnapped. But to be fair, they figured it out when they were being kidnapped. So, yeah. The next book, because I'm kind of done with this one now. That was it. So that's it with this book. The next book is All In. And it is a little bit bigger. It's probably maybe, I'm going to estimate 100 pages. I have not actually looked at how long the book is, so I can't tell you if that's correct. Because it's definitely like, Killer Instinct is like that big, and then All In is a little bigger, and then the fourth one is that, like, bigger. They got bigger. Whee! So yeah. That's it. The next book, I'm guessing has something to do with Sloane. I have read the back of that one, and since it takes place in Las Vegas, where they found Sloane, it has to do with Sloane. And I'm excited about that. And yeah. Anyways, that's it. I do know there's a, what's the word called? There's a, like a novella book that goes on like 20-ish or 15, maybe 10 years after the series ends. So we'll see if I'll read it. I would need to go buy it. So yeah, we'll see. I may read it, I may not read it. And that's it. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day, weekend, life, night. Who knows when we're watching this? Bye.